Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. What's up, everybody?
Good morning.
I am not going to lie, folks. I was up till 3:30 a.m. playing Path of Exile 2, so I might not be sharp today. And I got up early. I woke up at 8. So running on 4.5 hours, 5 hours of sleep. But I'm committed to the cause. The grind is for real, folks. If you want to succeed, if you want to achieve, you have to commit.
Hey, I'm with you. Been up since 1 dealing with snow here in New England.
You're actually doing real things, productive things, Dave. I'm fucking off. I haven't had a video game get its hooks in me in a while. Like I went like almost an entire year without playing anything, and then this has gotten me good.
Yeah, you guys like to nerd out pretty hard.
Yeah.
I know last year at the Arnold,
I bought a $3,000 laptop just to play games.
I brought my laptop with me just in case. Yeah, I can't go too long without playing some kind of video game.
Yeah,
I have two laptops. I have my work laptop and I have my game laptop. That's how much of a nerd I am.
Oh.
I'm going to leave it home with the Arnold, though.
You decorated, Ryan.
Yeah. He went all out.
Yeah.
Fucking straight, like it's like a episode of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy in there happened, like completely different. Wow.
Do you work from home, Ryan, or do you have an office you go into?
No, yeah, I just work from home.
Yeah, does anybody even have an office anymore? I don't even know what the point is.
Yeah.
I do. I have an office. Yeah.
Well, you kind of have to when you're operating on people.
Yeah.
So.
And you need to see patients in real life.
Yeah.
Don't go around in the mobile plastic surgery van, pulling up at people's condos. House calls.
We could.
Maybe in the future.
Yep.
Be ordering liposuction on Amazon. The robot will be rolling up to your apartment.
And we could do surgery pretty much anywhere. I mean, truthfully. Like if there's,
who needs a clean room?
Right. I was just gonna say, like, it's semi-sterile.
Plenty of people, waking up in bathtubs know that that's a true statement.
I would love having surgery at my house. I would have a pound of dog hair inside of me afterwards.
Right. That's sterile.
I'm going to tell you how I managed to stay up like almost 20 hours straight playing video games. I tried Methylene Blue yesterday for the first time ever. Holy fuck nuggets. How is that shit legal?
Did you like it, or was it a little overwhelming for you?
It was like if Adderall took Adderall.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I had 2 cups of coffee. Let's see. What I call a cup of coffee, what a normal person calls a cup of coffee. This is my cup of coffee. It's 16 ounces. So I had 2 of those yesterday. So I had 32 ounces of coffee and Methylene Blue. And normally my work takes me like 10, 12 hours to get done. And I got through my work in like 6 hours, like half the time I normally do. I chatted Amy's ear off for like 30 minutes. Like I was like
awesome.
on a manic roll.
Rapid fire.
Well, it directly gives you energy, so it's the whole point of that is.
Does it give you energy? Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Did you crash from it, or was it just kind of like it was just gone?
Well, I mean, I didn't go to sleep until 3:30, and I took it.
I saw you in the evening. You're still raring to go.
There were no naps yesterday, and that's usually a Saturday tradition in my house. Well, here lately, it's been a everyday tradition. My naps though recently were related to having an A1C of 10.6.
That'll make you a little sluggish.
What was your dose that you took for that?
I just took 2 drops.
Yeah. I don't know the drop conversions. I've got caps and milligrams.
Usually the drop is going to be one. Well, let's see, it would be 10 units. I think is about what a drop works out to be. I don't know what that would be. You know, I have to look at the dosing.
Gotcha.
FYI, Paul, you're going to start peeing blue. No joke.
Oh yeah, you do, for real.
That'll be cool when I go to my doctor and get my urinalysis done here next week. Wonder what that'll show up as.
What is NMN? I'm not familiar.
It's nuclear mono. I can't pronounce it.
I haven't heard of that one yet.
Mononucleotide.
Mononucleoside.
People in this community really run the edges of what is and is not acceptable to put in your body. It's incredible.
Well, it's a dye. Methylene blue was originally developed as a industrial dye.
Yeah, Kurt said they use it for staining lab samples.
Yeah.
He's like, you really want to put that in your body? And I'm like, I'm a bodybuilder, man. Yes.
Try it.
Of course, let's try
it. It is used in medicine. Like it has been used in medicine for some time, like for people who have chronic fatigue. And it's actually been used a lot to help people recover from that viral infection we can't say out loud. That was actually, we had a few patients who had long C19 and they really turned around when they started using methylene blue. Like it was like the thing that finally got them from like feeling just like absolute trash for like a year.
And it has the added bonus of peeing blue.
There you go. Everybody likes to be a freak show.
I just love when things that like for all other appearances seem to be something that would be sold off of the back of a wagon in the late 1890s by a guy in a shabby top hat, you know. But
would you like some colloidal silver with that, Colin?
but it actually overlaps with some shit that really works. Like that's awesome. It looks like snake oil. It makes you pee blue, but it actually is good for you. Okay, sure, why not?
Get a bottle on Amazon. Grab a bottle on Amazon, Colin, and try it. Like, holy fuck! I was able to work. I have ADHD. I'm all over the place, man. I'll have like five different things going at one time, and I like flop between. It's hard for me to focus on one thing at a time. If you couldn't tell from my way I converse. But I was able to like hyper focus on my work. Like check-ins, when I do check-ins, they just like make my brain hurt. I usually will do like 2 and then I go over and do something else and I'll do 2 more and come back and do something else. I like bounce back and forth, but I was able to just like slam through all my check-ins yesterday. Lucas I can confirm productivity is on another level. Yeah, man, if you want to work, holy fuck.
Yeah, I take 10 milligrams of it every morning. And it can be pretty strong.
Fun fact, methylene blue was also the first synthetic compound ever used as an antiseptic in clinical therapy.
Really?
Interesting.
So what did you guys see Sam Sulek yesterday? What did you guys think of?
Yes, I thought he did awesome. I actually watched his, he put up a video this morning with a lot of footage from the show. And I mean, for his first show, and he's like early 20s, I thought he did so good. Like I was really impressed. Pulls a great vacuum. Yeah.
I mean, I have a couple comments. I mean, just looking at it from a coach's perspective, but for sure.
I didn't like the fit of his trunks.
I thought he did great for his first go around. I think he had the typical first timer things that he can adjust a little bit better.
Yeah.
Posing, presentation. He, looks like he was, it's hard to do if he's peaking himself, but it just like most of us.
Soft, but it's weird. He's got he's got a Christmas tree, but his glutes are a little soft.
Yeah.
Glutes.
So that's why I think his shorts needed to be up a little higher or something. Like they
probably just water. Like he looked like he was holding a little water on his legs. I'm sure everybody wanted a pound of his flesh, was probably talking to him, and I bet he was on his feet all day long there at the show, which is not the best environment for peaking for show. But supposedly he coached himself.
That's wild.
And did he peak himself? If he did, that's pretty impressive for the first time out. He won his class and won the overall. So yeah, I mean, Kudos to him. I mean, that was a big ballsy move getting out there. I felt like he had nothing to win and everything to lose by getting up there.
I agree.
Yeah.
It was, people were just looking for any chink in his armor to cut him down. But I have to give him kudos for having a big set of balls for getting up there. But like you said, Dave, like I think little posing could be a little better.
Yeah.
I think he cut down too much. Would be my. I heard he tried to squeeze in. He had to like squeeze into classic. When you look
Made it
like
by
you've
a
got room
pound.
to grow and you're just barely making weight for classic, you're not a classic guy. You're a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure he was, afraid to eat after he got weighed in, like most guys are for their first show. If you're questioning yourself, usually
Yeah.
going to have someone encourage you to at least eat a little bit, whether that's going to fill you out well or not. It's good to get some water in, without chugging a gallon of water and stuff like that. The basics.
Yeah, I mean, if I were coaching him, I would tell him, look, dude, you're a bodybuilder. Just forget about classic.
Yeah.
Just go be. I mean, you could see his body wants to be big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like his body wants. I think, man, I think he was down to like 212 or something.
It's like 216, but yeah.
216, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought he looked great. I mean, he was peeled to the bone, shredded.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
anyway, kudos.
Kind of
to him.
reminded me of Arnold. I don't know. A little bit.
I know he's going to compete at the Arnold in the national qualifier. I don't think he's like pro ready yet, but you never know who shows up.
I mean, like his physique reminds me of like a young Arnold.
Mhm.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, he's definitely looking at him though. He's definitely got some room to grow. He's a young guy.
Yeah.
But nice job. I would say, good work, young man. Get out there, and that was a big set of balls. I know it's scary getting up on stage.
We love to see it because, like you said, everybody was gunning for him. Just looking for any and every opportunity to drag him down because that's what humanity loves to do when people dare. But well done.
Yeah.
Don't I know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, giving somebody criticism before or jumping all over their ass before they even step on stage is one thing. But after you get on stage and you're presenting yourself, I mean, yeah, you're fair game for criticism, I feel.
Well, I agree in the trunks too.
Yeah.
Tina said he did say he carved up after his weigh.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I would say, look, if you're a guy who's never coached before, I mean, I've done hundreds of preps at this point. You're just not going to know. You like I've seen like I feel like I'm not an elite level prep coach at this point, but I've done hundreds. I mean, you learn and you learn from mistakes. You see what other people are doing. Like it's like, and also it's really hard to be objective about yourself. So if you just the fact that he got up there and the conditioning he did is pretty impressive. But somebody said he struggled with his peaking, but yeah, peaking's really hard, especially like you're in your own head. I can tell you from like last year, like I was in full blown panic mode going into peak week, and I'm just like, I gotta trust Justin, just let this roll.
Yeah.
Both Justin and Kurt were helping me out a little bit. Justin's the diet guru. Kurt was helping me with the chemical wizardry going into the show. But I just let them drive the bus, and I know what I'm doing, but like when you're emotionally involved,
Yeah.
I was hoping Justin Harris would come on today. His guy, John, he
John.
just won the overall at that show. Holy fuck, man!
Looked incredible.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He is a big boy. He's strong as fuck too.
Yes, he is.
Let me see if I can find the pics that Justin put up. It was on his website somewhere, but John looked. John definitely nailed it. Yeah, he doesn't have any good pics of John at the show. John doesn't have any on his profile, but John. Wait a minute, is this? No, that's the Arnold Amateur. John's always. I think John's had issues nailing his peak in the past, which is it's really hard when you're a big dude, but he definitely nailed it this time.
Yeah, I was surprised. All those super heavies were all tall guys. Like none of them were. None of them were short.
We've
They were
worked
all
out
pretty
with
similar
John
height.
before.
And he's a beast.
He is so strong. Holy fuck, that dude is strong.
Yeah.
That was a couple
He's-
weeks out.
Big muscle bellies, like even in his glutes, like just very big muscle bellies.
He
Mhm.
might be one of the only dudes I've ever seen successfully transition from powerlifting to bodybuilding. He was a pretty, I think he had some world records.
World records. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's a Virginia guy too. Another Virginia dude. So
He looked incredible.
go Virginia. Yeah, he'll be competing at the Arnold. I think he is definitely pro ready.
Well, he's run up against a lot of good competition from what I remember the past
Oh
few years.
man, he picks the worst shows. He like just has bad luck. It was like there was a guy used to work out at our gym, big Brandon Barrow, who's a pro now. Like Brandon always would just like get like the shittiest luck run up, like competing against Nick Walker and shit like that. And Brandon's I gotta get Brandon on here sometime. Brandon's great, but he's a huge dude too. But yeah, I'm happy for John. John's a great guy.
Yeah, he posted on his stories yesterday and just was like thanking everybody. He seems so humble and just seems like a very genuinely awesome person.
Oh yeah, Sam wasn't ready for the big boys yet, and he was talking about, yeah, John would have made him look small. That's a different game. Paul, which brand of methylene blue did you get on Amazon? The one that didn't have formaldehyde in it. Hang on, I'll tell you. I do know that. You got to look out for the ones that don't have formaldehyde.
Don't want to pickle your insides and turn them blue.
I mean, maybe I'll live forever if I was Compass
just a-
Laboratory, whatever. Methylene blue, pharmaceutical grade.
Well, I
Safe
know
for humans.
I know we can't
formaldehyde-free.
name. I know we can't name sources, but the traditional MA, whatever you want to call it, site carries the capsules as well.
If that gotta be.
Some of my pharmacies have it.
Do they really?
hmm
I'm guessing there's quite a markup if you get it from a pharmacy.
Yeah, it's
At least you know what you're getting, I guess.
yeah, you know what you're getting. It would be a little more expensive, but
Yes.
you know what you're getting.
Come on.
They have people in the audience have officially labeled you Catman, Colin. You got one up in the tree behind
That's
you.
because I'm the hero this podcast deserves, but not the one it needs right now. Catman.
Catman.
Come here.
Superhero name.
There's currently
Get your
Yeah,
asshole
I-
off the camera. Jesus Christ.
I just bought it on Amazon. I didn't, that was my source, Amazon.
Yeah, if you look, there's a ton of them. I like the capsules though, just so it doesn't turn my my whole mouth blue. You can get capsules and just
Are
swallow
you
them.
just putting the dropper in your mouth? I mixed it up with water, like diluted it. pretty
I never
heavily.
tried the dropper. I just use the actual capsules that you
Oh.
swallow. So I don't get any coloring in my mouth until it goes into my system.
I did a podcast with Tanner Tattered and Jed Weaver the other day, and Jed's tongue was like completely blue. I was like, Jed's hilarious. He's a human science project. He'll do anything and everything. I imagine like being young again and like having access to everything that guys have access to now. Like this stuff was just like didn't even seem possible when I was younger. I would have been experimenting with everything. I mean, I was experimenting with whatever I could get my hands on in college.
Well, I remember when the DMAA came around in the Oxy Elite Pro fat burners, and that stuff was like, like you said, like if amphetamines took amphetamines, it was wild. That stuff, you wouldn't sleep for all night. But they have some crazy stuff now with different nootropics, and I preferred using this methylene blue just because it is a mitochondrial efficiency aid. It kind of went along with the stack I was I'm kind of running right now.
Dave, are you using that with SLU PP?
I am, yeah. So the mitochondrial things I'm using right now is MOTC a couple times a week, SLU daily, and the Methylene Blue pretty much daily during my Monday through Friday. I don't really do it on the weekends.
I haven't tried SLU yet.
The SLU, yeah. Same kind of thing. Get quite a bit of energy burst from it. Did notice I took once a little bit too much. I went around a full milligram, and I just started sweating right away. Right the second I hit cardio that morning, my mitochondrial was just probably churning and spinning like crazy.
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm looking at the pictures for, if I get it to pull
Just
up.
stronger, more bioavailable for injectable. Really only using about 250 micrograms as compared to like a milligram, in my opinion, oral. But pretty much same thing, just a lot more bioavailable, I'd imagine, stronger feeling.
This is from John's show. This is a local show. This is the super heavyweights. Jesus fucking Christ. This looks like a pro qualifier.
Yeah. The guy next to him, the one who came in second, like, look at his arms and like the density of his lats.
Yeah, he looks big. He doesn't look in condition though.
No. But he's got good shape. I mean, he's got a narrow waist also.
If I can get this was John the night before.
Man, he looks like a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's looked like a pro for a while. Yeah, that Justin's a wizard. I just don't know another way to put it. And it's funny because Justin gets aggressive with food too, like going on the shows, like really aggressive. I'm curious to see how he brings in Brandon Curry.
Yes.
I know, he looks wild.
It's shocking to me that more pros don't work with Justin. He's kind of like the hidden secret. Like I'd put him up there with any of the top guys for getting people ready.
Oh, for sure. Well, he just also seems like a very level-headed, chill coach, which I think, Paul, you were that same way. Like, it's not a coach that's going to like react and do like a crazy thing at the end that's going to mess everything up. Like, they're going to just stay the course. They know what they're doing. Like, they're going to keep it all very calm and like just roll you in.
Justin is super chill. That's what I need. I don't need somebody up my ass. You're just going to piss me off. I remember when, no offense to Todd, but when Todd would work for me, he would try the authoritarian thing with me. And I'm like, dude, go eat a big one, man. I don't need that. Like, come on, man.
Some people need the stick. Some people need the carrot. And
I am not the stick guy. You're just going to piss me off. I'm like, just tell me what I need to do and I'll execute.
Well, I think that's what everybody looks for, something different in a coach. Some people need confirmation. They need to be told like, yes, everything's fine. Keep you chill and calm. Some people do need to be. I have people I got to be on their ass all the time. Unfortunately, it's the only time you get something out of them where they slip off.
Yeah, I'm not. That's not my style to ride people. Like I get guys come to me and they're like, I need you to keep me accountable and motivate, man. I'm like, you got the wrong dude then, man. You need to go find somebody else. Like if you want somebody to dial you in, you want somebody to take a science approach, somebody who's going, it's had experience, it's going to, work you through things. I like to teach. That's sort of my coaching methodology, is to teach. I was just talking about this with one of my clients the other day. One of my pet peeves is just trust the process. I fucking hate that, man. I hate it when people say just trust the process. I'm like, you know what that tells me? That tells me that I can barely hear Paul. Let me make sure my microphone's plugged in.
Yeah, just double check. I can hear you, but
is that better?
It's crazy because we took all that time pre-show to do mic checks together, and
we're so professional.
Yeah.
This mic I have is analog. It's the Shure SMB7, which is like the gold standard for like DJs and shit. But it is a pain in the ass because you have to convert it to digital, and it has a mixer and everything. And if the cord gets loose on it, it fucks it up. I have an amplifier for it.
All right. Well, maybe the problem is on Chicken and Rice's side today. Then I don't know.
It's been an issue with my microphone before. Sometimes I think StreamYard has an issue. Anyway, I back on my rant. I hate trust the process. That to me, that's like I don't know what I'm talking about. You just do what I tell you, or it's lazy.
Mhm.
You know, if somebody asks
Or
me,
they just don't care. I mean, that to me says that somebody just doesn't care. If they don't care that you understand what's happening,
Mhm.
like to me, that's a red flag. If somebody says, you know, hey, why am I doing this? Like, hey, bro, just trust the process.
Mhm.
I mean, what does that mean? I
Right.
want to know why. So, like, you know, to me, it's important to explain why to people and teach them why, so that way they know.
Yeah, I always get wary when somebody who claims to be like a teacher or a guru or something.
This is exactly what this.
Exactly. They like
Mhm.
why would somebody get defensive when respectfully somebody asks them to expound upon something?
Yeah.
To me, you know, like as a a poker player, like, oh well, he's bluffing. He doesn't
Yeah.
actually have it. What,
Yeah,
you know, that's why,
Ryan-
right?
Ryan
Otherwise,
says
you'd be
that-
like Paul, and you'd be delighted.
People that say trust the process are all idiot, self-appointed life gurus. Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan.
This. I want to pull this one up. Barn says, amazing how many freaky bodybuilders there are today. Some of the older guys like Ronnie would still be hard to beat, but overall the guys are way freakier and advanced now. That's what I'm saying. Like I get these guys there all the time. Like there's too many pro cards. There's it's not as good as it used to be. And I'm like, bro, you're fucking high.
Mhm.
You are go to a national show sometime and watch. There are tons of dudes there that don't get pro cards that should be pros.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good physiques out there. I mean, there's a lot of pro physiques. Like, look at John. We were just talking about John. He could have been
Mhm.
pro.
John could
3
beat
to
a lot
4
of
years.
pros.
Yeah,
Oh,
3 or
yeah.
4 years now. He could have been pro. And it
Yeah.
is what. Look at that kid. Look at that kid. What is it? Elliot McDermott.
Yeah.
That just got
Oh
in.
yeah.
That kid should have been pro 5+ years ago.
Yeah.
You know.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Mike said this is why Paul is a great coach. He's a good teacher. Thank you.
Yeah, I was
I-
going to quickly say something about that trust the process thing because that bugs me too. Is when you tell people trust the process, sometimes they're looking for an answer, and you're not always going to have an answer for everything, but you should have some sort of an explanation behind your method, behind why we're going in a certain direction. Maybe some people need to have something expanded on or explained a little further. Like some people don't understand why we might have to do like a health period or why we have to do a mini cut or why I have to tell you, you're not ready for something yet. When I got somebody who says, oh, why can't I just jump on a gram of Tren? And it's like, I got to explain to you, like, you're not there yet, so I don't have the answers for everything, but I should have an explanation for my methods.
Right.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, I could see it being taken as a sign of disrespect by a coach if they're having their every, directive questioned.
Sure.
Just that is like, did you hire me as an expert or not? Like
Right.
there's a balance, and one should be respectful of the other. But
Yeah.
Well, this day from coaching people at the end of contest prep, they lose their fucking mind. There are some times at the end of contest prep, I'm like, hey, bro, we got 2 weeks left. Just shut up and do what I tell you for the next 2 weeks, right? Like
Yeah.
your brain's
Don't
not
do anything
working
to mess
right
this
now.
up.
Yeah.
Your glycogen depleted. You have no glucose in your blood. You're got about 3 out of 2 billion brain cells working right now. Just let me drive the car.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'll see it all the time. Guys fuck up their prep at the end of the prep because they start thinking too much. Then they don't listen to their coach. I see it all the time. All the time. They think they know better than the coach and they screw up at the end. So now I will still explain things. I try to give people a lot of information, like where we're going into peak week. I give them a very detailed explanation of what we're going to do. Now that's subject to change, but I find that information helps put people at ease. At least me, it does. Like if I know what the game plan is, that helps me
Yeah.
rest a
Or
little better.
explaining why you might be asking a question. Like I think back to my very first show and my coach, asked me at one point, like how many times I'd gone to the bathroom that day. And I was like, I was trying not to mess up my tan. I'm, try not to mess up my suit. So I'd gone like what I thought was a normal amount, but I had no idea why he was asking me that. And I wish I had, because it would have been more meaningful. I could have given a better
Yeah.
response
Yeah,
if
100%.
I'd known why.
Mhm.
Usually what I do is I'll book a call with my guys about 10 to 14 days out. Dave, you've been through it with me, and I'll go through the peaking process, what it's going to look like. And I explain everything to them so they kind of have an idea before they get all depleted and shit at the end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes when a coach says trust the process, they don't have an answer. I think that's the problem. I hate it when people just say, "Well, I don't really got the answer. Just trust the process."
Mhm.
Kind of a lazy man's answer.
Yeah. And even if the
Yeah.
answer is, I maybe don't know exactly why, but it's worked for me in these situations. And I think it will work for you as well because you're in a similar situation. Even just that little bit, if that's all you've got,
Yeah.
like being honest about that. Because there are times I'm sure, it's like things with nutrition. Like sometimes things don't maybe make sense on paper, but they work because you've seen them work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to get into bad coach rant, but I see it with guys, especially, it seems to be especially rampant with guys. And look, you have to get your legs under you as a coach. You have to learn. But I see guys, especially like some of the guys that are IFBB pros, that basically they have a really smart coach that did a very detailed plan for them, and they just give that same plan to all their clients. And they
Mhm.
don't understand how it works. They don't understand the theory. They don't understand the mechanisms, and then it doesn't work for everybody they work with.
Yeah.
And they also don't know why.
And they
Yeah.
don't know why.
I actually have a question for you guys as coaches. Something that I've been struggling with a little bit with like just lifestyle nutrition clients is I feel like GLP-1s are making coaching a little bit lazy. There seems so much like that it was some cheat code for an athlete, but I feel like it's almost becoming like a crutch for a coach, especially for, maybe smaller competitors. I feel like we're just going to see a ton of people that are overutilizing these just to make it so that they don't have to deal with a person complaining about being hungry or trying to adjust or trying to figure things out. Do you guys see that as being something that could potentially be an issue for coaches?
Yeah. I could see them using GLP-1s as kind of a dial for food.
Mhm.
This is how I can turn it up and turn it down very simply, rather than sometimes you just got to explain to people like, I just need you to suffer through and take a little less, food or whatnot. So yeah, of course it could be just like any other drug. I mean, think about it. Some coaches, and again, I'm seeing with Paul, I'm not going to point fingers, but some coaches just crank up the drugs and bring them back down to get the result they're looking for out of
I'm
their
for
client.
all the drugs.
Or whatever,
All
like
of
you
them.
taught me, whatever the tool is, if it's the right
Yeah.
tool at the right time, you pull the right
Yeah.
switch and the right lever, at the right
I think
moment.
I heard the best analogy I ever heard, and he was an amazing coach, was John Meadows. And he talked about having cards in your hand when you're dealing with it. And it's like playing poker. I think John was a poker player, and this was the best analogy I heard of him working with people for cutting. Is you save the aces for when you need them.
Yeah.
You don't lay your aces down right away.
Yeah.
So you just like, and that's sort of been my approach to even like people that are just dieting. I'll start them off with just a little bit of cardio and a slight calorie deficit and no fat burners. And then, we'll layer in, some over the counter fat burners in like, maybe after like 4 weeks. And then maybe we'll throw in a little bit of clenbuterol. If we have trouble with the appetite, retatrutide or something like that is a tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
To use. I mean, I'm all for. You still have to do a diet. There's still levers you have to pull to get in shape. So I don't know. I am a little worried about the GLP-1s for bodybuilding contest prep and how they're going to affect your look. I'm worried about that too, and it does seem I've seen some stuff in some of the studies that seem like they might be have an effect on kidneys, especially at the end when you're getting dehydrated. I'm also wondering how they would affect fullness at the end. So I would, if I were to use them, I've never used them in a contest prep yet. I may experiment with them this year. If I were, I would probably yank them a couple weeks before the show. Maybe use them in the rebound phase when people, yeah, that's what Dave did. He used it in the rebound phase and it was excellent.
Yeah, I think I agree, and you worry that you're going to just cause so much more like potential rebounding issues too if you've pushed the GLP-1 so hard on a prep and like continue to like ramp them up and ramp them up and ramp them up to prevent someone from feeling any little bit of discomfort or hunger, and then they come off show, especially for newer competitors who haven't done an off season before. I just feel like, man, that has the potential for just either they're going to become so dependent on the GLP-1s at that point that they can't get off of them, or they're going to just rebound so hard as soon as they try to come off of them at all.
Yeah.
Especially without a coach
point.
who knows how to like taper them down appropriately.
Those are both legitimate concerns. Like I can say from my limited experience that, if I were, it's not a physical addiction, but definitely I could see a mental addiction forming to, the way that it makes me feel vis-a-vis not eating like an asshole all the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. In a prep scenario too, I do need as much biofeedback from the client as possible. So hunger is one of them, and it's not just, well, I'm hungry because I'm 4 weeks out from a show. It could be like after my refeed, when did I start getting hungry? Was it immediately the next morning, 2 days later? If you blunt that response, I got really nothing to go off of,
Right.
For some feedback. And then the other side of the coin is down the road, this stuff is helping uptake nutrients too in the background. It's not just a hunger suppressant. It does more than that. So how does that affect the look in the most like precious time on the last peak week, like taking in nutrients and storing them,
Josh might be right. Maybe people might be on these GLP-1s for life.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I see it with our patients, who are at healthy weights. They're at normal weights, and they refuse to come off of them. And these are not people who were ever obese in a lot of cases. These are people who wanted to literally lose a little bit of weight and now like refuse to come off. Like they will not. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's been also some talk. Colton did some, I think, on here explanations of the mental aspect of GLP-1s and how they can drive depression. I don't know exactly how it is, but I think the more you're exposed to them,
Well, it affects serotonin.
Yeah. Yeah. They're the right tool for the right job, for the right scenario, and you got to push and pull them just like any other drug. I like having as much runway as possible during a prep from people. If I just immediately take away all my cards, if we use that analogy, I got nothing to play at the end. So, maybe the last thing I can do is to keep someone on track is just to alleviate their hunger. It might not be a diet adjustment. It just might be quieting that hunger noise for them. So maybe someone, you don't put them on a GLP-1 immediately, but when it's needed down the road, 8 weeks, 6 weeks out, that's when you start implementing these things. So, but yeah, you're probably right, Amy. There's going to be a scenario where somebody, even doses get pushed the dose too high that who knows when is the dose going to be too high anyways,
Yeah. Well, people, I think, our tendency as humans is to seek the correction. You see a little bit of improvement, you see a little bit of change, like you continue to want more, and you continue to want to kind of get that high from it. I mean, it's not giving you an actual high, but like Colin said, like you get used to that feeling and, it gets hard to get that to go away, or you get so scared. And I feel for people. I mean, and again, I work with mostly lifestyle clients. So, they get worried that they can't do it alone because they couldn't do it alone before.
Sure.
When ultimately, as I think we talked about this, did we talk about this a couple weeks ago? Like implementing some of these lifestyle things first, like it was Ryan, we were talking about that, like getting your hormones in check, getting your exercise down, like start understanding what an appropriate diet looks like and implementing them versus like, here, let's implement them. And then, oh shoot, now you have muscle wasting because you don't do any type of resistance training and you're just not eating, like you're taking an anorectic and not eating and not working out. So I think, at least from a lifestyle standpoint, like being able to integrate those things first rather than people just jumping to them. But now that's just what people want to do. Like they don't want to work hard on their nutrition with me. They just want to take a GLP-1.
Yep. Just like the bodybuilder that'll crank a gram of Tren because that's the easy route.
I mean, this is the American way.
Right?
It does not shock me at all. Why would I go into the restaurant when the drive-thru is right there?
Yes, like F me up with GLP-1s.
Yeah, I'm not. Why would I ride this horse when I can get a hot rod?
Well, the other thing, just quick, just because the thoughts keep coming to me, but people, if you rely on it too much too, we get desensitized that there are negatives to these as well. Like you look at some of the inexperienced people, like a bodybuilder should know how to eat, but the regular person that's losing half of their weight from muscle loss and then the other half from fat loss, and they're essentially making themselves, like the Al Roker analogy, look just like a smaller, unhealthier version. And they are. When you lose muscle mass, that's precious mass. You know, that's longevity
for
on
women.
the especially for, and there's some people that don't have a lot of it to start. They got 100 pounds of fat. They'd be lucky 10 pounds of muscle that they could lose to maintain health, you know. So there are negative.
Borderline malnourished, you know, you can be over fat and extremely malnourished.
It's very
the other
I
thing,
see it all the time.
yeah, Dave, that you brought up with how you look on stage, like what if someone has ramped up their dose so high that now they're having extreme constipation going into their show, and then they're trying to do like, you know, drastic things like taking a lot of you know, laxatives right before their show. Like how is that going to affect their look, especially if they're using something like an osmotic? You know, is that going to make them look watery because they're just trying to use the bathroom? You know, there's I think a lot of factors to consider, especially for coaches who are really trying to get, you know, people to look the best they possibly can without making them just suffer, right? If you've got these tools, like I'm all for using them,
Sure.
But how do you manage it appropriately on the ramp up and the ramp down? That's kind of what I was thinking.
We're going hypo too quickly.
Yeah.
Asking
Yeah,
if I was
right.
on
Yeah.
Ron Harris's channel chatting yesterday. No, that was not me. It must have been another bald guy with a big nose.
You have a doppelganger?
I mean, it might be surprising, but a lot of bodybuilders have no hair and GH noses. Some guy
Ryan,
was,
does your HRT clinics get into a lot of the GLP ones? Is that going to be something that's kind of funneled through the HRT clinics as well? Or I'm not familiar with, to be honest, a lot of HRT and TRT clinics.
I saw there was an FDA warning that came out, like, do not prescribe generic GLP-1s. We'll see how that goes down with JFK or RFK Jr. Sorry. Total Science likes you, Amy. He gave me $2.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. And he's got a box of Captain Crunch.
He knows quality when he sees it.
Yeah.
What do you
We know that
drive?
that's not the way to snag a bikini competitor. It's nut butter
Sorry,
under
Ryan.
a box.
I didn't mean to hijack your
There's
question.
a box of oops all crunch berries under a under a cardboard box with a stick holding it up.
I didn't mean to hijack Ryan's answer.
Yeah, no, we do prescribe GLP-1s. I take the approach that we were talking about, or that Amy was mentioning earlier. I really try to get to the root of the problem. Like, it's about lifestyle changes. It's about implementing those with lifestyle changes and getting your hormones right, so that we're not just in a catabolic state, losing all our muscles and pulling it Al Roker. Right. So, and I try to teach people, I want you to come off of this at some point. I don't want you just to stay on this for good. And we're going to do that through the lifestyle changes, getting your hormones right, increasing your metabolism. Like you were saying, muscle tissue is the most insulin sensitive tissue. So the more muscle tissue we have, the better improvement in insulin sensitivity. So we can, hopefully we don't have to stay in the GLP-1s.
Amy Existence says, you look like you've gained some weight in a very good way, looking very pretty in the most non-perverted weird way possible.
Thank you. Yes, I have, right? I have cheeks again. Yeah, not just bones.
You look great.
Thank you.
You do.
I can't like see striations in my chest anymore. Like, yes, I'm looking like a human.
You can see it in your training videos online. Definitely putting on a little bit of weight.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
good.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. You know, I think part of it too. Sorry, Brian, I didn't want to hijack you again.
Nope, I'm done.
You're good. And this is actually something, Ryan, I would like your input on as well. Like, I did finally start supplementing with a little bit of estrogen because my estrogen was completely non-existent at the end of my show, like completely. I'm sure I was lower than all of you guys. And I feel like the change since I've started using it is more so in like the way my body looks in a way that is, you know, more feminine, which is good. Like, even with my weight not changing by more than a couple of pounds, the look, as you noted, Dave, is very, very different. Like, I have fullness in places where a woman should have fullness.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure you feel better too. I mean, so everything kind of pulls together. Better recovery, better sleep, better, you know, it's the way it's supposed to be for your body's operation.
Yeah. And I do feel, I mean, it's been, you know, 19, 20 weeks since my show, and yes, like as those things kind of start to come back, I mean, it's been almost a year since I started prep last year and have not had a menstrual cycle in pretty extended amount of time. So to kind of start feeling those estrogen-y things coming back, I mean, obviously they're a part of my life and have been, but they haven't been there for a while. So like feeling those things again. And like I said, even just like feeling the way like my skin feels in some places, and certainly where my body is choosing to deposit fat at the moment is very much in the estrogen driven areas. So it's been an interesting process to kind of feel it coming back a little more slowly. I mean, after my last season, my period came back right away. So it was just like, it was instantly back. So I didn't have this kind of extended period of feeling like not on prep, but also not normal, for quite a while. So,
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
it's not uncommon for what you're experiencing right now. It's not uncommon.
yeah. Ryan, do you see many women in your clinic that have just like amenorrhea that are not related to bodybuilding?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what in the bodybuilding world, when I would help guide some females, through, again, it's not uncommon for the cycles to get really messed up, and also for non-bodybuilding type things. Yeah, it's just not super uncommon. I see it quite often.
Might be a little bit of a odd but personal question for you to answer, Amy, but when your estrogen gets really low in like that show scenario, do you kind of get the same side effects a lot of men get with just kind of feeling very withdrawn, for like the emotional, mental aspect of just feeling kind of cold and withdrawn and very, maybe depressive, I guess you'd say. We're kind of like shut off when our estrogen's depleted and gone.
I would say no. However, I definitely feel like I feel it more now that it's coming back, that perhaps I was not like as in my feminine energy as much. And like, that's something that I think a lot about. Oh, thanks, Joel. See, Joel thinks I could make a good booth babe. Where's Chase now? More so like in work situations and like areas where I could just kind of like be really flat, I feel like that's kind of coming back. Like I have more of that like deeper empathy that was a little bit lacking. But I think a lot about that too. Like I think I really think a lot about like feminine energy and like embracing like my inner goddess and those kinds of things, which I know are like super woo woo. Ryan's heard me talk about this on his podcast before, but it's really fundamental to like who I am as a person. But definitely when my estrogen was super tanked for a long time, it was harder to kind of feel that. I could still kind of think it, but it was not something that like kind of felt like it was like in me. It was like something that I was trying to like wear as a mask versus something that was like literally coming
you could
from
intellectually understand how that used to feel, but you didn't feel it as much anymore. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Like I could act it, but it wasn't like my essence.
It's like
I can tell you, I know when my estrogen's high because my nipples get itchy and I cry at puppies.
I mean, I could cry at a puppy. Like, let's get one in here.
And I'm not a crier. I'm like, it's so good. I want that puppy.
Dave, to answer your question on a broader context, because everybody's going to be different, right? But I certainly see a lot of females who have low estrogen with the same side effects that men get. So anxiety, depression, lack of sense of well-being, all the typical things that you see. It's very similar for a lot of females, but everybody's going to be different. So,
yeah. Because I see very powerful, like in a very like uniform with all men. I've almost gotten that response from every guy. That's when their estrogen gets real low. It's same response, exactly what you just said there.
Oh, you get apathetic.
Yeah.
Your joints hurt. I just don't give a fuck.
Oh, and then the physical aspects, your joints aching, just everything. You feel kind of deathly. It's just like, oh God.
No energy.
Yeah. This year when
it's not prep.
Yeah.
No
well, this year I prepped when I was like 2 or 3 weeks out from my first show this year. I had a flare up of diverticulitis in my stomach or colon, and at the same time my estrogen got crushed. So I felt like I couldn't distinguish if it was like actually I felt deathly from being like possibly poisoned from the diverticulitis. That scared the shit out of me. And then my estrogen's crushed. It was like a nightmare physically and mentally, but I got it all worked out. But it's powerful. It's powerful. The estrogen being crushed for sure.
It really is. It can be worse than high estrogen for sure.
I was scaring Dave about the diverticulitis because I know a guy that his ruptured and he had to have like half his fucking colon removed and had sepsis and
that poor guy
almost died from it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't fuck around with that, Dave. Don't be a dude and ignore that.
Well, unfortunately, I think we got a colonoscopy on its way in the near future here, just to
You're at
check
that
up on
age
that
now,
stuff.
man. Welcome to the club.
I know.
I need to get one done
The
soon.
prep for the colonoscopy is worse than the actual colonoscopy.
I mean, I kind of enjoy Colin. It's cathartic.
Good clean out.
Yeah. Paul asked to.
Give me the
Paul
barium.
Paul didn't allow them to use the anesthesia on him. He wanted to be present for the procedure.
Always be present.
She's fine. She's fed. She's fed as often as the biggest bodybuilder. She eats so fucking often. She's just old, and she just needs to tell the world that everything isn't always perfectly acceptable. And she's so fucking loud, and she's gonna live forever because she's the hugest pain in my ass. So don't worry about that cat.
Thanks, Shoko. He said, loving your sciencey course so far, Paul, with you and Kurt. The cheat sheet's awesome too. Thank you, man. Yeah, I have been promoting that cheat sheet. It's a 30-page Cliff Note version of sort of the course. Kurt and I put a lot of effort in that course. I put some new information up on the course this week too, like for guys that are. I've been trying to put more articles and stuff in there for guys that have already subscribed. Anyway, the cheat sheet's $30 if you want to pick it up. There's a link in the video description.
Hey, Paul, did you notice? I don't know if you've noticed lately, but I think you started a revolution when we're talking about estrogen. I see every guy I talk to now ask me about Dbol for low estrogen constantly. And I think half of it's like they just love seeing their estrogen go down a bit, so they have an excuse to take Dbol.
Take Dbol.
Yeah, hey, coach, can we try some, 100 milligrams of Dbol?
It is so weird, man. Like, I'll say stuff or post something, and then I see like people copying it and like replicating it and doing their own versions of it now, like, or emulating it. It is so weird, man. Like, I'll see like 10 different versions of the same video I just made come out right afterwards.
My biggest question with that, though, is like I wouldn't be opposed to that if that, again, the right tool for the right job scenario. But how predictable? I mean, Ryan would probably have an understanding of this better than myself, but implementing giving estrogen for low estrogen is probably way more predictable than giving someone Dbol and how they're going to metabolize that into estrogen. Like, you're not everyone's going to handle taking Dbol to raise their estrogen the same as if they just use.
Dbol's awesome, Dave.
Yeah, no, I get that, but you know what I'm saying. That's not the problem we're trying to solve.
Like any excuse I can give guys to take a drug to make them big. Paul said it's okay now.
Yeah. Here's the thing. So Dbol, for the longest time, I mean, I guess I don't even know when it came out, but for the longest time has been
50s.
One of the most popular compounds. And it was one of my best sellers when I sold it. And it was that way for a reason, because people love it and people love the way they look on it. They love the way they feel on it. Now, it is not good for every context. It's not good in the bodybuilding context. We don't need to spike your estrogen. And some people just react really badly to it. They just bloat. But I've also seen people take Sustanon and Dbol and get so lean they look like they're ready to step on stage. So it's just so many people do really like Dbol, and for again, so it's sold as well as it did for a reason. But there is a context, and I would say for men who we need to get their estrogen up, and it's a little more common than people would think. I use exogenous estrogen last. I try other things. So usually I'll try to give them some HCG because that can spike estrogen too. But yeah, I guess I wouldn't normally use Dbol to get people's estrogen up. Although I don't, in moderate doses, I don't think it would be that bad of an idea.
Mm.
It was my answer when I had crashed estrogen, and I'm like, I don't have, unless I want to steal my wife's estrogen pills or her patches. I'm like, I'm just going to take some Dbol, and it worked.
Yeah.
My experience with Dbol is like for most dudes, especially like what I've seen, if you're a low estrogen converter, Dbol is great. If you're a guy that aromatizes heavily, look the fuck out.
Yeah.
You're going to grow titties. You're going to have acne. You're going to have bloat face. You're going to have high blood pressure. It's not a good look. And that's like 90% of dudes are their body fat's way too high, and their estrogen's probably too high, so they probably are not good candidates for Dbol.
But fortunately, 90% of dudes are going to go and get their blood work tested before they ever take Dbol, so it's not an issue.
Right. Get a good
I don't
baseline.
even need a blood work test to tell if somebody's got high estrogen, man.
Yeah.
I need an ass check. That's all
Yeah,
I
all you
need.
gotta do is say, let's turn around.
How juicy is the booty looking?
Let's see what the hips look like, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you got a fat ass, you got high estrogen.
I can do that too. And just like you were saying, Paul, like your methodology includes education. And that's what I really try to do too. I try to teach people what how you can tell when your hormones are high or low or off by the way you feel. And I try to teach people that. And a lot of people will be to me like, oh, shouldn't I get a blood test like every month or every couple months or something? I said, no, I know what your hormones are by talking to you and looking at you. I can tell if something's out of whack or something. I mean, blood work is good to get, don't get me wrong, but some people live and die on that blood work. And just like you said, I can tell where your hormones are just by looking at you and talking to you, how you're feeling.
Yeah. Josh said, if the world ends, what's your orally anabolic stack? Well, for me, if the world ends, I'm going to take some halo testing so I can kill some motherfuckers and take their food and family away from them.
Anadrol all day for me.
And estrogen for me so I can have a good cry.
Anadrol is one of those ones I feel great for about 2.5 weeks, and then the acid reflux, the headaches.
I think people take way too much to start, though. Like that, I don't think anyone realizes how strong 50 milligrams of Anadrol truly is.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if you want to get strong quick, Anadrol is the way to go.
I see a lot of people, though, too, with estrogen issues. They immediately start their first cycle of testosterone, and they already have an AI built into their stack. And, like maybe it was just me. I started when I was younger. I never used an AI, and I realized that I didn't actually need one as I just kept my testosterone within a good range. If I got fat, my estrogen would go up. At the end of a bulk, my estrogen was always getting higher because body fat was higher. Maybe sometimes
you're
people
different
just
than me, man. I just grew boobs.
I can crush my estrogen easily by accident, but getting it to aromatize doesn't seem to be much of my issue.
I remember when I came back and I just started TRT. This was, 42. I hadn't been on anything for like a decade, and I was on just TRT. I think it was 200 milligrams a test. My estradiol was close to 400.
Good Lord.
Wow.
On just TRT.
Well, 400, was it a total estrogen test?
No, it was estradiol.
It was an estradiol test?
Yeah, it was like 370, 380.
On 200 milligrams of testosterone?
Yeah.
Were you really, really overweight at that time?
You had a slightly different body composition at this time.
I mean, I looked like an egg.
Yeah. Back when Paul and I were still pounding big lunches and shit. It was not good. Very fat days.
Very fat days.
Very fat days.
I got very familiar with every restaurant within a 5-mile radius of our office.
I mean, I can tell this story, and it's not hyperbolic. Like we were asked to leave an Indian buffet, so I don't know what else to tell you. They were fat days, guys. They were fat days. He's a slightly different person today than he was then.
Sir, you've had enough food.
They took our plates. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet. I didn't see an asterisk next to all you can eat.
Yeah, they took the plates.
I'm not a man. I'm a monster.
Man, I used to be able to put down some food. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. We got
Can't
old.
do it anymore. All right, we want to grab some questions.
Yeah, we got some questions. We already went over this obviously earlier. Toad McSoul said that there's some high quality footage of Sulek on his YouTube channel. 9 minutes 30 seconds into his latest video, and we can watch the final comparisons for the overall win there. But we already looked at a bunch of footage.
I mean, he definitely smoked the other guys.
Yeah.
It didn't look like he was up against any stiff competition.
No.
He would have fared a little bit differently if he had been in the bodybuilding.
Well, this is high praise coming from Joel. He says that that's impressive, Paul. That we're some of the few to get kicked from a buffet.
I don't know that I'm on Joel's level, but
I'm not on Joel's level. I wouldn't pretend to be.
maybe in my 30s I could have given him a run for a money.
we definitely put in a pretty good showing that day at the buffet, though.
Dude,
I
I'm
remember...
not shitting you. This was my go-to. I'm embarrassed to even admit this. Man. And I wonder why I'm a diabetic now. But in my 30s, Domino's would have buy one get one free medium pizzas with 2 toppings, and I would get bacon and onions. That was my go-to. And I would get the 2 medium pizzas, and I would eat the entire 2 medium pizzas by myself, and then finish it off with a pint of Ben & Jerry's, like daily.
That's impressive.
That was dinner.
Oh, okay.
That's
I
literally.
didn't eat breakfast. I usually would eat 2 times a day. I would go out and have a giant lunch. I would eat like a foot-long sub, or go to a buffet, and then I would finish it off with pizza and ice cream at the end of the day.
Oh Lord!
And
yeah,
smoke some weed.
And then like I would be bewildered why I was like always shitting my pants and like having acid reflux and like just generally not feeling so hot. And I was like, man, it's a mystery. And when we started eating chicken and rice, I was like, I think I felt like shit my whole life. What?
It was really quite a miracle that I wasn't fatter than what I was. My only regret is that I just didn't power lift through all that.
Yeah.
I would have got big as fuck. I would have been fat, but at least I would have been big.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing is, Colin, is I get that a lot. People who come to me and they're just like, I don't know, I thought I felt okay, but I guess everything's going awry. I have all these other symptoms of low testosterone. I thought I felt okay. They get on testosterone and we clean up their lifestyle a little bit, and they realize that they felt like shit for decades, and they never even realized it because it was such a slow progression.
Yes, yeah, and it's wild. I actually had a similar experience not too long ago. I've been dabbling in like some spiritual shit on the side, and I tried to like meditate a couple times, and it's been an eye opener, perhaps a third eye opener. But I was just like you don't realize like how like noisy your mind is until you like quiet the world around you and just sit with it. And it's like I don't know, it's kind of like a metaphysical sort of same lane as like I didn't realize how physically ill I felt my whole life because I was eating like an asshole until I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't realize how noisy the mind is until you try to quiet it. Anywho,
I actually followed a structured diet this week on that note. That's the first time since my show. I weighed and measured everything and followed macros this week.
Proud of you, Paul.
No. Your pizza and Ben & Jerry's meal is literally what I tell my clients when I first meet them what they're not going to have for a cheat meal, though.
Yeah, seriously, all that gluten, all that dairy.
The least productive cheat meal possible.
So when they go,
I get to feel like you want to die.
Yeah, get to have a cheat meal. I go, well, the difference is like go have a burger and fries, some sushi rolls or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I don't want is a whole large pizza and a pint of Ben & Jerry's, and then you ruin tomorrow's digestion and further.
I'm glad I'm inspiration.
If you
all I've got is to thank for me not getting super fat is that my T3 is always high every time I get blood work. Even when I was natty, it's always high. I am hyper.
Well, and being type 1B diabetic also may be part of that.
I wasn't diagnosed at that time, so I didn't know it wasn't real.
It wasn't real. It may have been just really in the background.
I remember how bad I would feel. Like I get tired all the time. I'm going to do an update video about my A1C. I've actually been tracking my blood. It's amazing what happens when I actually take my Lantus. My blood sugar actually stays normal. Yeah, the ulcerative colitis kept me in a healthier weight. Yeah, that definitely helped out. I got that to thank.
Yeah, Aaron, Big Paul, how do you feel about a low dose of Tren E, 50 to 100 milligrams for an off season, and what dose of EQ should I use with 900 test?
I don't like Tren in the off season. I just don't. I know some guys. Kurt has leveraged it some. Um, unless you're struggling to gain weight, like it's going to increase. Um, it's going to increase. Like they use it in cattle for feed efficiency, right? So it's like when cattle are in like a stressed environment, they on the feedlot, you can actually eat less and grow. That is where it becomes beneficial, I think, for pros, or if you need to recomp a certain degree. That's another. It does help with insulin sensitivity too. That's another thing I've found with Tren. It does seem to improve insulin sensitivity. But I just find the side effects, even still, like I can't sleep like in the off season, and it gives me acid reflux as well. Like you get the Tren gut from it. Your stomach gets upset. I don't know. I just don't find it to be productive in the off season. I would stick with. I don't know. I want to limit my exposure to the toxic stuff to when I absolutely need it. I think it makes the most sense on contest prep, unless you're just like an elite guy that's just trying to get that last little bit
Yeah.
out of it. And with the test and EQ, I played around with EQ. I've seen with my clients, EQ just fucking crushes people's estrogen.
Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely crushes their estrogen. Like you can only run it about half of what your test is. What I've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, to find the right dose of EQ for you, it would be like we do everything else. Start off low and slowly titrate it up until you have the right dose for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And also keeping in mind, if you're starting at 900 and you're thinking you're going to add like 600 milligrams of EQ, you're adding such a high load immediately. Like it is so important to start lower. Like your total drug load is, almost doubled right there. And if I can add one quick thing about the off-season Tren uses, I mean, Paul's got it right. There's been a few times where I've had guys and myself even use a little bit of Tren for like a kind of a mini cut scenario where if I'm forced to pull food back, I might use a little bit to help clean up to be productive during that time. But I would still consider using acetate rather than enanthate. So that way, if you have an issue with it, you can pull it out. It can clear out of your system. You can be done with it.
Do you find, I want to ask you, Dave, do you find that the side effects are less when you're in a caloric surplus?
Yeah, I think so, because I think a little bit of it's mental. When I'm dieting, you're being hungry just messes with your head just as much as anything else.
That it doesn't seem to affect me as negatively when I'm in a surplus.
But I think things are also dose dependent. I mean, I'm going to be crazy if I go over 200 milligrams a week. Tren doesn't agree with me.
Yeah.
If I go over 200 milligrams a week, I'm going to be psychotic. So whether I'm dieting or I'm in the peak off season with all the food I can imagine. So I think, finding the right dose for him, you're going to have to be patient, take some time and experiment. But
I want to address this one question here real quick, Colin. Shoko, Paul will rip me for this, but do you have any figure fitness bodybuilder competitors that follow a carnivore, keto, low carb, moderate fat diet? I only hear about competitors doing lower fat diets. I don't know of one professional bodybuilder that runs keto year round. Not one.
not year
I
round.
can't name of any.
Yeah.
No. On contest prep, maybe. And even when they do contest prep, it's usually a modified keto diet. They used to call it the shit loading diet or body opus. Skip Hill has his own version, the skip loading diet, basically where you're just keto 6 days a week and then you do a carb loading or basically just eat whatever the fuck you want for one day. I've seen guys do that, but you're cheating yourself out of glycogen synthesis. I made an entire video about this past week. And I mean, you can do the math on it. If you synthesize 1,000 grams of like a large bodybuilder, like let's say like John Rivas, this is what Justin does. Justin Harris is really good at manipulating this. Let's say if you can synthesize 1,000 grams of carbohydrates into muscle glycogen, it's going to attract 3 parts water to synthesize that glycogen. You're talking about 4 kilograms of weight, mass that you're going to add to your physique in glycogen. That's going to be intramuscular. I mean, how are you going to look? I mean, that's 8 pounds. How different are you going to look with 8 more pounds of stuff in your muscle?
Yeah.
That's what they call full. Looking full. And you don't get that. There is no glycogen synthesis. Also, without carbohydrates, you have lower insulin production, which is going to lead to increased AMPK, lower mTOR, lower IGF-1, less glycogen synthesis. I mean, all of that just is not an environment for growing muscle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the hormonal cascade just from eating carbohydrates.
Yeah. And he has to remember the way he asked the question too is where it's for a competitor. Like, would that diet, would keto or carnivore be good for an average person just trying to manage calories? Because that's an easy way for them to do it. Sure. But when we're looking for a visual cosmetic effect, you know, it seems like in my experience, carb cycling and having carbohydrates as a tool I can use is the most beneficial. You know, may not be the healthiest, but is what it is.
Somebody said have a conversation with Dr. Sean Baker. He's a proponent of the carnivore diet. Keep in mind with these guys that are promoting these diets, they're selling shit.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I'm not trying to slam that dude. I mean, hey, look, here's my take on it. If you're carnivore keto, if you're eating a shit typical American diet, it's just an elimination diet at the end of the day.
Yeah.
By the fact, like, let's say if you say I'm going to be carnivore, there's no more donuts, there's no more potato chips, there's no more French fries, there's no more cheeseburgers, there's no more ice cream, there's no more pizza. When you eliminate all that stuff from your diet, you're going to get healthier.
Yeah.
You're going to improve. You're going to likely create a calorie deficit. It's just an elimination diet. That's essentially what keto is. I do use keto diets with some of my clients that are severely obese, that maybe have insulin resistance. I'm not like completely married to one diet philosophy. I think when people start treating it like a religion, this is like my rant. I really hate when people start treating diet like a religion. They start using all sorts of mental gymnastics to justify their silly way of eating. I do tons of consults, and most of my consults are blood work reviews. When I do consults, almost all of them are blood work reviews. And I can't tell you how many people I've had come to me that are running carnivore and keto diets and taking PEDs, eating high amounts of saturated fats, and taking PEDs, and they have horrific lipid profiles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like emergency level lipid profiles. Like, I've seen dudes with LDLs 300-400. I've seen that many times. So you're already going to have lipid skewing from the PEDs on top of eating a high saturated fat diet. That's like riding a motorcycle with no helmet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to do it, that's cool. I mean, you look cool on that motorcycle with no helmet, but you're taking a big risk. It's a way big risk. I don't know. I just think it's silly. But I have so many dudes that come to me, and then we get them on a lower fat, moderate carbohydrate diet, and their lipids improve, and their health improves.
And they probably feel better too. And if they're somebody who goes to the gym, they're probably stronger in the gym too, like overnight or within a few days of changing the diet.
Yeah. And can you honestly say that commit to not eating carbs the rest of your life? Can anybody do that realistically?
Well, you're talking fruit as well. You know, some stuff that, you know, not processed carbs. There's plenty of fruit. I mean, I couldn't live without fruit just in general.
No.
Yeah.
I could do it for a while, but then after a while, I'm gonna start
look,
feeling a little fruity.
Here's the thing. Like, you're probably going to get healthier. Like, if you're severely overweight, you're not going to be weighing and measuring a food like a bodybuilder does. You're eating steaks all day long is probably going to be better than your shit typical diet. Is it ideal? Is it optimal? Probably not, but it's better than what 95% of what most people eat. You're going to probably get in better shape. I think that's why people feel better from that diet, because they've just removed the junk from their diet.
But we should go back to what we were talking about before. What was your baseline? You know, if your baseline is feeling absolutely awful, then a moderate improvement while still in the bad zone, in the red zone, is going to be, you know, your perspective will be that it feels a little better anyway.
I don't know. I think just having a balanced approach to your diet, like if you want to go out and have a piece of pizza, eat a fucking piece of pizza.
Yeah.
Just, don't eat like an asshole the rest of the week.
Don't eat
Yeah.
two medium.
Yeah,
And
don't
a
eat
pint-
two
instead of
medium
pint of Ben and
pizzas
Jerry.
Yeah.
like I did. And
Just for
fuck
meal
yourself up.
3.
That's
Anyway,
feeding the depression.
In rant, that one,
Not the
I'm
body.
like, that's the methylene blue talking people.
Well,
Oh,
I
God,
had,
There's a
Diet
woman who
cults
competed.
piss me off, trigger me more than anything. All right, sorry, Amy, go ahead.
Oh no, there's a woman who competed in Fit Bottle this weekend at the show that was yesterday, and she had 10 tablespoons of peanut butter, like as part of her like build into the show, like on Thursday night. She posted that, and I was like, I've been thinking about it ever since. 10 tablespoons of peanut butter.
sounds
That's
good.
crazy.
She woke up
Well,
super lean.
This is Ryan. Ryan's got a point. It's not that there's some magic with the carnivore diet. It's bingo. You're removing all the high inflammatory foods from your fucking diet.
Processed shit.
That's literally
All
what
the
I was gonna,
processed, high sodium.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're putting something in your body that at least it recognizes. It's like, oh, it's meat. Yeah, we know what to do
Jesus.
with that. It's not fucking,
Food,
a
real
bag
food.
of bugles.
Mike's one of my clients. Mike's coaching now. Keto can be a good way to fix metabolic. Yeah, absolutely. I use it with guys that are. I've gotten people off of insulin with keto. I mean, if you have insulin resistance, your body is not going to be able to effectively metabolize those carbohydrates. They're just going to make things worse. That is, so you're metabolically disordered. You got to get that fixed.
Mhm.
So removing the carbohydrates are going to help with that. But also, this is a fascinating thing. I think a lot of people don't know. I mean, you would know this, Amy, but when you look at studies, when they make rats insulin resistant, what do they feed them?
yeah, fat.
High fat diet.
Lots of saturated fat.
Lots of saturated fats. Quickest way to make a rat insulin resistant.
Yep, like the worst quality fat you can find. It'll do it in a little tiny mouse heartbeat.
Yeah, and from what I understand, I could be getting the science wrong on this, but the saturated fats are very stiff, and they affect the phospholipid layer of the cell. And insulin receptors are transmembranal receptors, and they have to pass through the membrane of the cell, and it really just fucks all that up.
Yeah, it creates what we call AGEs, AGES, advanced glycated end products, because the cell wall gets, like you said, stiff and impermeable. So
Yeah.
then glucose just sticks to it, so then you have, and like, I mean, that's also, this is where I get really fired up with nutrition about like things like heart attacks. Like, is it the atherosclerotic plaque? Like, or is that plaque there to try and fix the damage that was done to the endothelium because of the glycation of these cells? Like, it's such a bad cycle to get into. And then you have all these like sticky cells. Like, you're literally sugaring your cells by eating these really denatured and bad fats.
AKA my 10.6 A1C.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like,
What
your
do you
little
know about-
phospholipids need some love.
What do you know about this, Paul?
But
Mike Horner said we had a guy who used to roll with us who swore by keto, and his sweat smelled so bad. So did his geese and no geese shit. And people
Colin, I know
wouldn't even
about
roll
this.
with him anymore because he smells so bad.
It's the gluconeogenesis when your body starts breaking down proteins for glucose.
One of the byproducts.
Yeah, it's one of the byproducts is ammonia. So you smell like ammonia.
Smell like fucking shit.
It's just sounding better and better. These extreme diets, they just have so many upsides.
That's the other thing when
Right.
you're eating 8 pounds of meat a day,
Right.
and you're not eating carbs.
Well, that's the proof right there. Like, it's not ideal for anybody who's going to be doing something physical for a long period of time. Like, you're rolling in
Or
jujitsu.
aesthetic.
Or that. Yeah.
Or
But
if you
certainly
want to
from
get
a
laid.
performance. Yeah. So not only will you not even get the girl, but if you did, you would be no good in bed. So
Yeah, so if you start smelling like ammonia at the gym, drink a carb drink. That'll
yeah,
fix
because you're
it,
burning
right?
muscles.
Well, you'll see it like anybody that's been an athlete. Like I played basketball and wrestled. You smell like fucking ammonia after a wrestling practice. The whole that's the it's the stench of gluconeogenesis. But that's the funny thing. Like with these guys that are eating pounds of meat a day and they think they're not eating carbs. Your body is converting that excess protein into glucose anyway through gluconeogenesis. Why not just cut out the middleman and eat a fucking potato?
There's your clip for the
We
episode.
need that on
by
a
the way.
shirt.
There's your clip for the episode, Paul.
Right. I mean, you're going to save yourself $16 on a ribeye, and eat a 99-cent potato and get the same result.
Yeah, and that potato's going to be more. That potato's more satiating too, as we've come to learn.
People forget that the
satiating.
carbohydrates are protein sparing. You're literally breaking down protein tissues protein structures for glucose. That doesn't seem like a very efficient way of dieting to me. I don't know. Anyway, and steak, rice, repeat right here.
Well, I think the only I can't even say the word generality of a diet I can say is the more diverse the diet is, usually the better it becomes, for all people. I mean, it's just same thing they say on your plate. The more colorful it can be, the better. The more diverse it can be is definitely beneficial.
Well, that's so true when you look at the gut microbiome as well. Like the more diverse your diet is, the better. And this is also why, when Vigorous Steve was talking about all of his IgGs coming back high with the foods he was commonly eating, like, yes, I mean, the difference between a true allergy and what you've just kind of created is this intense sensitivity because you lack variety in your diet are kind of the same from that IgG component side of things. You can seriously downregulate or turn off bacteria in your gut just based on what you're eating or not eating. And things like fiber, like you said, Dave, like fruit and things that really, help nourish our entire body, not just, one thing. Like you need diversity.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why there are seasons. This is why different things grow in different places. Like we seek diversity.
That's another thing that drives me nuts is like guys talk about fats being satiating. I'm like, no, they're not.
No, but they are
they're
delicious.
They're not satiating.
They're flavorful.
And like they're like, well, I eat the diet, like the difference between eating a dry ass chicken breast and a ribeye, that 8-ounce ribeye goes down way easier than 8 ounces of chicken.
Why is that?
Or you can look at it like with the like the satiety index. You take a potato is the highest satiety food on satiety index. You take that same damn potato, you fry it in butter, you could eat 8 potatoes, but you try to sit down and eat 8 potatoes by themselves, it ain't happening.
8 dry potatoes with
Dry.
Yeah.
My gosh. With
Imagine
no
trying to
salt.
eat 8 baked potatoes, whereas eating a bag of Lay's potato chips, there's probably 8 potatoes in that bag of Lay's potato chips.
A whole lot of canola oil.
That oil makes that food very, very palatable.
Yeah,
But it does not make it satiating, and that is so key. I mean, you could just keep eating potato chips. I mean, that's their slogan. You can't, like, once you pop, you can't stop, right? Like,
can't have just
that's
one.
not by accident.
And look, I'm not like anti-fat. You need some fats in your diet. There are essential fatty acids. They are essential for a reason. Your body does not make them. Most people are deficient in omega-3 and omega-6, or specifically omega-3s. They probably eat too many omega-6s and way too much saturated fat. So I would eat a diet that's more rich in omega-3s. Don't get me wrong. I love
fats in so many foods. I mean, even fruit, like there's trace fats in fruit. I mean, I think we lose sight of like looking at food as like an isolated nutrient, because in nature, things come packaged in a way that works, like look at an avocado. Yes, it's high in fat, but it's also super high in fiber. So you need both, and like that's going to counterbalance the effects of some of the fat. Like they're just, when you look at natural foods in their whole food form, like there are many things that are going to add benefit to each other, like synthesizing fat-based vitamins. Like you need fat to synthesize some vitamins, but they usually come packaged in a food that has both.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head
soluble
there.
in fat, right, Amy? Some of these vitamins.
Yes.
You hit the nail on the head right there, Amy. Just eat single ingredient whole foods.
Mm-hmm.
Really, if you just do that, pick anything like what do they call it? Shopping the edges of the grocery store is what I've heard.
The perimeter.
Yeah, it's
If
true.
you just go around the perimeter and pick up the stuff there, you're probably going to be overall better. Just whatever. Yeah.
Like you can binge eat a lot of raspberries, but you're probably only going to do that one day. The next day, it's not like you wake up like, oh my God, where are those raspberries? Like I need to do that again. Like.
I don't know. I challenge
stop.
anybody to try to make themselves fat. eating chicken and potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard.
And chicken and rice.
KFC would argue with that.
Fry,
Covered in gravy.
Yeah.
fry both of them.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Anyway.
Cover them in gravy.
All right.
Fry them.
Let's get a couple more questions, and I got to roll here soon. Sorry, guys, for the rant. I am not anti-fat. I'm just anti-cult diets.
Deep fried rice.
What was this one?
Stoneward asking what the best appetite suppressant and or stack is known to man, because he says he can eat through GLP-1s at any dose.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah,
I've not heard anybody.
Add Cagrelintide. You could try that.
Say again.
Add Cagrelintide.
I've never heard of it.
It's another appetite suppressant you add with retatrutide.
Oh.
Cagrelintide.
Cagrosema combo.
Yeah,
Testing
Cagrosema.
it as cagrosema with semaglutide and carolinitide. The other thing I would look at, Stoneward, is what are you eating? I mean, before these drugs existed, you were managing hunger in some way. Like looking at the timing of your nutrition also might be really key in like extending a period of satiation.
Yeah, and what's triggering your hunger? Are you have an addiction to food, or are you truly starving and your body's telling you I'm hungry?
Right? Are you under eating?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this question came in an hour ago, so the odds of him still being in chat are slim. But yeah.
Well, I do know you can find out some good appetite suppressants by trying different. There are different GLP-1s available nowadays, but the mental aspect of it is gonna win out in the long run once you pull the drug out. So if you could do all these GLP-1s, but if you have a mental kick to food, to be honest, like if you're addicted to the food, whether it's a junk food or any kind of food that's satiating to you, you need to kind of address that problem first to have a healthier relationship with food. But for me, Retta works great. I know Sema with semaglutide works good, but there are some side effects people tend to get more with that one than everything else. There's also another one called I can't even pronounce it, mazdutide or whatever, that's coming out as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you built up a tolerance to Retta and Sema.
Right.
Maybe for them to try something different.
Yeah, that's like the next thing I would do would add Cagra, and then yeah, some of the newer stuff coming out. But yeah, I mean, everything else you're saying, I mean, if it also has to do with just a severe dopamine inhibition, then it might be taking care of the neurotransmitters, that you're looking for, the dopamine that you're looking for through other methods than eating.
Yeah, and that comes to mind is maybe trying, and be careful with it though, is tesofensine. So where that gives that might suffice the dopamine kick as well as an appetite suppression all in one drug.
Yeah, Brian, do you guys ever use low dose naltrexone for people who are wanting to lose weight?
Yeah, I guess I don't have a lot of experience with that. So although we've used it for people who already know how to use it themselves, and so yeah, we'll prescribe it to them. But I don't have a lot of experience with that, so I don't personally have that in my repertoire, really.
I mean, it's common to see it compounded low dose naltrexone and like phentermine together. I would imagine that's a pretty powerful appetite suppressant and would maybe deal with some of the mental aspect as well. But I mean, we're talking some pretty heavy pharmaceutical drugs at that point that are very off label.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's grab one more, and then I got to roll.
Okay,
My bladder is ready to rupture, and I need to eat.
It's a fun one. Silly one. Shoko, better strength gains, Halo or Anadrol?
Anadrol.
Anadrol. Okay. I honestly wasn't sure what you were going to say there, because you speak so highly of Halo. But Anadrol. Okay.
Yeah, Halo
Why
is
not
great.
both?
Let's re-roll the thing we rolled at the beginning, the disclaimer.
I'll be honest with you. I know some dudes that are high-level powerlifters, pro powerlifters, and I have seen guys they'll run. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I've heard like some of the strongmen, they like running halo the day of their meet, and they use Anadrol up to it. That's what I've heard.
I mean, so
that's why Eddie Hall bleeds from his eyeballs.
They're different. They're different, right? So but the question was, what's the best for strength? It's Anadrol, but they're different. So Anadrol is going to, even though Anadrol is a DHT derivative, it doesn't convert to estrogen. The theory is that it directly binds to the estrogen receptors and can cause like water retention and everything through that. That's the theory. We don't know that for sure. But that's the theory. But halotestin is not going to increase estradiol in either way. So you're going to get a much, a very powerful, potent lean muscle mass. So they're just different drugs.
Anadrol is non-genomic, if I recall correctly. It's all CNS.
It's so neat, isn't it cool though? Because if we told any doctor who came out of med school that Anadrol works purely on the non-genomic aspect, it does not diffuse through the cell, it does not bind to the androgen receptor and then translocate to the nucleus to have the genomic effect, they would have no idea what we're talking about. They wouldn't even think that's a thing because they're not taught that. So, the fact that we know that, I think it's just fascinating for anybody in the know. Okay, we have a compound here that has incredible proof of strength gains, very fast strength gains, completely through the non-genomic effect, which is just, to me, it's just absolutely fascinating and really neat.
It's really cool. Yeah.
So tell your doctor that they have no idea what you're talking about.
So in theory, it should cause no direct muscle growth.
Right. Yeah. It's all the CA2 plus increase in
only indirect.
Yeah, the size of the actual size of each muscle cell through the CA2 plus mechanism.
And just being stronger probably causes
Super
more
neat.
stimulus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Makes sense. If you attack a workout with Anadrol and or halotestin level intensity, you'll probably make a little progress that day.
Yeah.
I don't know how guys do live streams more than 90 minutes. I would need an adult diaper. By the way. My bladder is about at its limit. I am also going to be 51 years old here in a week or so there is that too.
When are we going to start selling the anabolic branded piss bottles, Paul?
Yeah.
Milk
Professional streamers. Professional streamers only. Hardcore piss bottles.
Bottle it up and sell it
That's too gross. I'm sorry.
Bottle it up and sell it as a sidebar to my OnlyFans feet site, along with my dirty old underwear.
Oh, that's gross. And yet there's a market for it.
There is definitely a market. I literally had a guy that wanted to buy my posing trunks.
That's
I mean, how much was he offering?
I'm like, let's get the bidding started, man.
that was your trip to Key West, if I'm not mistaken. Paid for.
It's like, have you washed them? I am foul, so no, I have not washed them since the show.
We got Amy at the end right before the show's done.
Well, I know what a suit looks like after it's been tanned through and glazed 8 times.
I just like to know where the line is with Amy, where she finally makes a noise of disgust.
I'd be throwing those out. But that's one of those things like you see in the back of the closet, and you're like, "Oh, that's going in the trash." I don't even care. I don't even care how much that cost. It's going in the trash.
Amy, you have no idea how foul I am.
I have 2 brothers. I guarantee you I do.
Let's just hope the brown on the trunks are from Tanner.
There's a reason why I buy.
You don't ask questions,
trunks.
Dave.
Yes.
Black trunks come with no questions.
Exactly.
Black underwear only, my friends. That's the rule for the day. And I will leave you with that piece of wisdom, everybody. Black underwear only in bodybuilding.
It's too much highbrow humor on this podcast for me. I can't keep coming back here.
All right, folks. Have a great day. Thank you for your support. We appreciate